This is the switch. And today is the 1st of July. And in the switch, we want to talk about all sorts of switches. Today, 1st of July, marks the start of a significant charity and cause in Australia. It's called Dry July. So I'd like to talk about addictions. I'd like to talk about addictions because I'm an addict. And I would dare to say that we all are. Being an addict is not fun. And it can have many different faces. But coming back to Dry July, I like this cause because when I used to live in Australia, I worked for a technical director at the White Agency, a prominent digital marketing agency in Sydney. And one day I remember seeing this guy coming in. I can't remember his name right now, and his name eludes me, but I'll put it in the comments of this post. And he came to us because he wanted to build his first website. And that was dryjuly.com. He was starting this because himself had been an alcoholic for so long. And had had to face, of course, been battling with a form of cancer. I'm not sure which one exactly. And, he was quite very private about it. But nevertheless, that was an interesting business opportunity, so to speak, that came to us, although we did it pro bono, obviously, to support the cause, right? Dry July. And since then, so I'm talking about something which took place 10 or 12 years ago, right? Dry July in Australia when I was there at the White Agency. And since then, it's grown steadily, and I'm very happy to see that. It's now offering support services, and material help to people battling with cancer in different areas for different root causes, not necessarily linked to alcohol anymore, but nevertheless, Dry July, the point is that to help people reducing their alcohol consumption, the idea is to, in July, at least in Australia, because it's winter and it's easier, to stop drinking. So that's the idea. So there you go, Dry July, supporting the fight against cancer and against alcoholism as a very well-known, prominent cause of cancer, as we all know. Not just bowels, anything really, liver. So I'm starting Dry July, and I think it's going to do me a little bit of good because I saw my doctor on Friday for just a checkup, regular checkup, and we spoke about diet and the meds, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, and talking about what was left really to be discussed in my everyday diet. And I said, yeah, there's still this little bit of alcohol that is going on, right? And he said, okay, well, I've got a very simple rule for you. Really easy to remember, don't worry. But you just need to make sure that in a week, you spend more days not drinking than drinking, right? And this, if you calculate quickly, there are 7 days in a week, which means that if you want to spend more days not drinking, that's 4 days. And then you can have the 3 days where you can have a drink. Of course, you're not supposed to excessively drink, right? There's a call to temperance and moderation. But that's the rule of thumb. Well, my experience with addictions in my life has been that moderation and temperance, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't work, doesn't do the job. And most often I need to go cold turkey, as the saying goes. Which means that, I had a few addictions in my life, starting with cigarettes. And I smoked for 25 years, and since the age of 15. And then now, when I was 40, I quit. But I quit not on the first try. I quit on the fourth attempt. And took me some, not only determination, but some rules and some tricks to be able to do it. And that's probably something that I'd like to share here in the switch on how you can lure your brain to quit, right? Whatever it is you want to quit, right? So that was cigarette. I've never been into drugs, other forms of hard drugs, really. So not my problems. But I've been a workaholic. I have. And the reason I was is that, I've been very early on in my career an entrepreneur. So I created this business back in 97, 98 with my best mate, Pascal, if you read this podcast. And of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you throw yourself completely into it, right? Day and night, and there are no weekends. And especially in the first few weeks, months, years, you just devote yourself to it. And even when things start going a little bit better and you start making business and have a flow and you could take a break, it's too late. You're into this addiction of being constantly occupied and your mind absolutely monopolized by the next task and the next activity and what needs to be done next. So that's an addiction. It's called workaholism. You have, accustomed your brain to the adrenaline and the dopamine that you get from being constantly active, and you have developed a reward system of getting the next thing done and potentially getting the next deal closed, these kind of things. So believe it or not, but work can be an addiction, and that's another one I had to get rid of, and that happened precisely after the White Agency in Sydney. I remember that very clearly, and the way I had to flick the switch and change completely my approach to the work and the relationship to the work environment and to my workload as a whole, my responsibilities and all these tasks I thought I had to do. Right. So we'll come back to that as well. Workaholism. Then I had been battling with a gaming addiction. Yes, I've been a hardcore gamer, and that was probably in the same years I was an entrepreneur. There was this sort of constant sort of reward system. That was part of my reward system, working hard and then playing hard, as the saying goes, right? Work hard, play hard. And that's a very, very dangerous system. Trust me, you don't want to go into that because instead of finding a balance, you create two addictions. So I've been a hardcore gamer, and more generally speaking, I've been a device addict with computers, spending my time on computers. Even when I did it, it was not for work, doing some research. The web is terrible. Well, some people would say that they've been addicted to the web, to browsing. And it's true. And that was even before social media, right? So that's that. And then that fed into social media addiction. I remember being in Sydney again, my years in Australia. I've learned so much over there, right? And I've grown so much. But I was constantly on social, in particular Facebook, Instagram, when it came up, was really popular. And primarily these two ones. And posting and showcasing my life and trying to pretend I was someone I was not. Right? And always kind of showcasing, the good moments and forgetting to pitch the bad ones, right? So there's a lot to say around social media as an adult, but also, for teenagers these days who are, of course, from their very, very young age, subject to this screen exposure and then the addiction that ensues. And they have nothing else, right? So for me as an adult, it was different because I had known a life before the screen, so I could anchor myself into that. But I can definitely understand that for the new generations, it's a completely different ballpark and type of challenge. So yeah, a lot of addictions, as you can see. That's already how many we can: cigarette, work, game, devices, social. And then came the moment where I was a little bit in disarray in my own private life, and I became a bachelor again. And then I started to be addicted to some of the forms of excitement in my life. And, um, and I was not great. So I went into partying a lot. Not necessarily alcohol, but partying. Uh, and that involved a lot of interactions with people, as in sexual interactions. And I became an addict again of that on this period of time where I was transitioning between two relationships, and I could easily, and I did let myself go into that, and I was such an addict that I could think only about that and about the next encounter, so to speak, which of course left me every time more and more dissatisfied. Right? There was nothing fulfilling, nothing purposeful in that. It was just a commodity and Kleenex relationships, really. Excuse my language, but that's what it was. So there's this form of addiction as well. Okay. Then let's, in another more recent period of time, having solved all that and having been married and a father of two girls and now remarried with another partner who I love dearly, I came to examine other areas of my life and the other form of addictions. I have things that actually make that I'm not completely free. There are things that I miss dearly when they are not there, right? So one of them was sugar. And I remember a few years ago still, I couldn't imagine a life where I would have my coffee or my tea without sugar, as in white sugar. So that was really quite strange because, it's a commodity product. I grew up with it. And there was always white refined sugar or brown sugar in the cupboard. These little cubes or the castor sugar. So cup of tea, cup of coffee, spoon of sugar. Or these little paper bags that you get at work or at the restaurants. One or two sometimes in my shot of coffee. And that was it. And I loved it, right? And of course, not to mention dessert, sweet turkey, and chocolate. Terrible. I'm living in another chocolate country at the moment, as you know, in Switzerland, and that's a constant challenge, really. But one day I realized, and I started to read and inform myself about, all these dietary considerations around huge excessive consumption of sugar, and I realized that it's a poison. It's refined sugar, and I went cold turkey. I cut it all together. It's been 3 years now that I didn't have a piece of sugar. I didn't have a spoon. I might have had, a little bit of a spoon of honey every now and then when I'm on when I want really to sweeten some dessert or something. But that's it. And guess what? Don't miss it a bit, and didn't affect my performance in any significant manner that I can perceive. So this is all changing a habit that has been ingrained, through years of advertising and brainwashing that you need sugar for your brain. Yes, of course you do need sugar, but not this one, not this refined, disgusting white sugar. Okay, so sugar addiction is another big one in the diet, and then I can go on in the diet remit. I can go on with cheese and meat. Cheese is a well-known, and dairy in general, but cheese in particular, is a well-known, addictive food because it contains casein. And casein, of course, affects our neurotransmitters. And the more casein you get, the more you want. So that's why when people who really like cheese, they like it more and more and more and more. And at the end of the day, you keep eating all this cheese. I used to be a massive cheese consumer. The fridge was full. There was a dedicated shelf for cheese of various kinds: Roquefort, Gruyere, Reblochon, goat cheese, you name it. Right? For everything, all sorts of cheese. And until the point you realize that What is it doing to you? It's good, of course. It tastes really, really good. And as I said, the more you have it and the more you want it. But it doesn't do anything good to your body, in particular as regards cholesterol or as regards your guts, your, the quality of your, you know, you're going to the toilets and all that. It's really terrible. So I've only recently quit a cheese as part of my whole meal and plant-based diet, right? And tell you what, I don't miss it at all. Right? I've got sometimes some vegan cheese if I want a spread on something like a piece of wholemeal bread, but I don't miss cheese at all. And if anything, I feel actually really, really much better in terms of my guts and my digestive processes. So there you go, another one, and I could go on. Okay, so back to my doctor. And I saw him. He's really, really nice, this guy. That's the first GP I'm seeing in Australia, in Switzerland. And it was a kind of meet and greet, and we went through everything, right? So through all these questions about my habits, my routines, and all that. And at the end, he said, "Oh, I'm not going to see you very often with the diet you have and the fact that you're exercising every day. You're having these walks and hikes on the weekend, and I'm not going to see you often. But yeah, let's talk about alcohol. Say, it's poison." And I say, "Yeah, even wine." And he said, "Yeah, there's nothing good about wine. I mean, the studies that claim there's two good things about wine, right? The first one is that it's anxiolytic. So if you're a bit, mildly depressed and you have a glass of wine, it's got an anxiolytic effect and you feel a little bit better from this perspective. And then the second aspect, the second good thing about wine might be that you are social. I mean, usually, at least in France or in Europe in general, we drink wine in a social manner. So which means that wine consumption entails social interactions and food in general, right? So that's the way this works. But yeah, other than that, nothing. All these bullshit we hear about red wine and tannins and antioxidants and all that. Yeah, if you need antioxidants, believe me, you just need to have your batch of blueberries or this kind of thing in your morning smoothie, right? Rather than a glass of wine, right? So and it's like everything. A glass of wine is okay. A bottle of wine, especially daily, doesn't work. Okay. So here I am with my last frontier. The last frontier, or maybe there will be something new I will discover in terms of what I'm addicted to. Maybe I'm addicted to podcasting now, and I'll have to solve this problem. But alcohol is probably something I want to get rid of in my life. I had the other day for the living drinks of a colleague a beer, but that was a Guinness, and no advertising here. By the way, I'm not getting any money from mentioning Guinness here. Okay, don't get me started. But I had a 0% Guinness, and it was surprisingly good. Taste-wise, it was great. I had it and I enjoyed it, and there was no alcohol in it. And then a colleague of mine told me, "Yeah, but look it up. All the additives they are going to put in it to make it taste like a real Guinness." And I actually read the fine print at the back, and there was absolutely nothing, no additives whatsoever. It was just, they're caramelizing a little bit more the rye or whatever it is, the oat. I don't know what's in Guinness. Make it taste so good. But yeah, it was absolutely 100% natural. I'll tell you what the only difference was, apart from the fact that it had 0% alcohol, is that it was more expensive, which is really clever marketing, right? Marketers will find any occasion to sell the added value. And the added value here is that you're having a Guinness, it's like Canada Dry back in the days, right? It tastes like alcohol, but it's not alcohol, right? So, and of course, it seems to have required a lot of additional effort to do that. So I'm not buying into that, and I'm not sure I'm going to to pay one more Swiss franc for my 0% beer any longer, right? But anyways, that was it. And I had this 0% Guinness, and that was good, which means you can still be social, having your 0% drink. There's wine, 0% wine as well. There's 0% spirits. There's mocktails, anything you need. So social is not an excuse to drink alcohol. Okay? And that's something to remember. So I'll let you know how I go, and I want to wrap it up here. So I'm very pleased and humbly proud to support dryjuly.com. It starts today, 1st of July. The challenge, if you take it with me, is to stop drinking for 31 days. Yeah, it's a long month, July. They picked it on purpose, 31 days. And then tell you what, you'll see. You'll see if you still want to going and not keep not drinking, or if you want to pick up a glass to celebrate with your partner and with friends around that. Okay, so that's my 50 cents today about this topic. We're talking in the switch about addictions. It's a big and important topic. We all have addictions, and it's impairing us. It's constraining our lives. It's sometimes poisoning our life. It's making it very complicated. It's preventing us from operating at our peak performance. So it's important we talk about it and we find the switch to get rid of such addiction. So I'll see you soon to talk about the first few tricks. Take care.